Hello YouTube, this is Art Gunner from thepunkeffect.com and morepower.com. For a few months now I've been trying to find ways to give you regular content, and my interviews that happen during the convention months are not regular enough material for me, and I can't spread it out or else the news becomes irrelevant by the time I post it. So, I have found a way to give you guys something fresh, something you may have seen, but it's not quite as common. Everyone under the sun has found a way to do Let's Plays. Everyone does Let's Plays. Everyone and their mother knows how to do a Let's Play and how easy it is. I say fuck that. I want something a little more challenging. Something that involves a little bit more work on my part. More time and effort. And I have found the perfect solution. I think I'll need one more thing. Now, let's begin the first in what I hope to be a long series of Let's Builds. Let's get started. Now, Ark, you may be asking, what the hell are you doing? What are you building here? Well, what I'm building is the beginner set for Gunpla builders. What Gunpla is plastic model kits for Gundam. I don't think I need to explain what the fuck Gundam is. But I'll explain it anyways. The original anime series Mobile Suit Gundam was released in 1979 under Sunrise Entertainment and distributed by Bandai. The original series took place in what was called Universal Century 0079. The whole series' plot surrounds the colonization of space and the declaration of independence for said colonies. The colony known as Side 3 declared themselves the Principality of Zeon. They're basically just space Nazis. And as Nazis like to do, as opposed to actually seeking any form of independence, they want complete control, and so they try to overtake the Earth-Sphere Alliance. They attempt to do so with a brand new type of military weapon called a mobile suit. In order to counter Zeon's mobile suits, the Earth Federation decided to develop a few of their own, the most famous and most powerful of which was called Gundam. And thus, the Gundam series was born. And with that out of the way, let me explain what I'm going to be building today. What we have here is the starter set for Gunpla builders. Gunpla is plastic models from Gundam. Kinda obvious there. Gunpla. Gundam, plastic. Blah. What we have here is the Zeon Zaku and the RX-78-2, also known as the original Gundam. We will be building the Zaku today. What I hope to do with this series is to inform all of you about different tips and tricks and tools that are needed to properly and effectively build really, really good Gunpla. I've done extensive amounts of research and found so many different methods. I'm going to show you my methods, but I'm also going to show you some of the more general methods or tools that you'll need to build them really well. With that out of the way, let's get started. There are a few materials that everyone will need in order to properly build Gundam models. Firstly, a pair of clippers. After, modeling glue. Then, an X-Acto knife. X-Acto knives are used to clean off the burrs from the sides of model kit pieces. You'll also need extra X-Acto blade heads. You can also use panel line markers, Gundam markers, Q-tips, toothpicks, and an emery board. You can also use sandpaper. Now that we have all of our tools and materials in place, let's start this Let's Build. My first major tip for assembling one of the Gundam model kits: never cut a piece directly off the tree. You want to leave a nice amount of room between the piece and the trees. After cutting out the piece, you can smooth it out later, so don't worry about getting a clean cut. You don't want a clean cut. The next big tip I can give you is whenever you want to take off panel and seam lines, you know, the seams between the parts when you're assembling it. What you do is you coat each seam line with modeling glue. You allow the glue to dry, and then you lightly sand it out with an emery board or sandpaper. You can also use a metal nail file. I feel that using a piece of sandpaper or emery board is a much lighter grain and allows for a much smoother finish. And there you have it. Now before we begin airbrushing, there's a couple things you're going to need to do. You can't just stick straight paint inside of an airbrush. Not good. What you need to do is thin it out. What we're going to be using for the paint is Mr. Color Gundam Color paint. This one is number 7, and it's a light green. No, that's number 7, and it's the dark green. This is 6, and it's the light green. We also have it in black. What we're going to be using is Mr. Color Leveling Thinner. This stuff, I mean, when you buy all of this, it's going to be a little pricey, but trust me, you're buying this giant bottle, it's going to last you a while. It'll be worth it. You'll need little paint mixing bottles. These are Badger brand. Perfect. You're also going to need pipets. Basically, little disposable clear plastic turkey basters for modeling. They're called pipets. What we're going to do is we're going to thin one of these paints. We're going to use the light green right now to the consistency of milk. In order to do that, we do a ratio of 2 parts thinner, 1 part paint. Let's get started. As stated earlier, it's preferable to get to a very milk-like consistency in your paint-to-thinner mixture. However, I screwed up, as you can see, and I'm getting a very watery consistency. Thus, the thinner does not show up as well in a finer coat on the pieces. I fixed this later, and I was able to produce a much better mixtures for the other paints. But you'll live, you'll learn. One tip I can give, aside from adding just a little bit more paint to your 2-to-1 thinner paint ratio mixture, is also when you're actually painting, you want to make sure that you use very light, fine brush strokes. You don't want to overpower the piece, lest you get very globby pools of paint on different areas of your pieces. If you do happen to get any pools and globs of paint, the best repair course to go in such a case is to lightly soak the item in paint thinner and then use a cotton swab to wipe off all the residual paint. You do not want to let the piece soak in the paint thinner, lest the paint thinner has the possibility of melting the plastic. Now on to another subject. In regards to the airbrush itself, yes, the airbrush does matter when painting model kits. The particular make and model of airbrush that I use is actually a Badger 100 MU airbrush, alongside its paired compressor that I bought in a bundle kit. There are 2 particular brands of airbrushes that basically reign as king over model makers, especially gunpla builders. The 2 brands are Badger and Iwata. They're basically interchangeable in terms of quality, but Badger is slightly less expensive and provides a little bit more variety in terms of the different types of airbrushes. So depending upon your level of skill, I recommend going for the Badger. You don't want to pour too much money into a hobby that you're not sure you're very good at just yet. Learn with basic models and then work your way up. With just a little extra work in seam line coverage and in the paint application, you can see a stark difference between this Zaku II and your standard out-of-the-box straight build Zaku II. Honestly, the more time and effort you put into each model kit, the more enjoyment you get out of the whole process, as well as more pride in the final product. I can look at this model kit now and I can honestly say, this looks a lot better than anything I would have done just straight out of the box. All in all, I feel that this kit is a great place to start for anyone who wants to get into gunpla building, especially at the higher levels. However, as I've said before, this obviously isn't the greatest thing you can do with a gunpla, considering my skill level. Next week we're going to do something a little bit more within everyone else's range. Next time, we're going to do a straight build with the RX-78-2. See you next time. This is Art Gunner, signing off.